Welcome. Good evening. Yeah, we're a few minutes late tonight. Of course, given the last week, we are known for some technical difficulties. Of course, I have no idea if this is due to YouTube or OBS or what, but there have been some technical difficulties this week. We are working past them. Thank you guys for your patience. We are here. I'm very thrilled to be here again. This is the highlight of my week. Of course, we do this 3 times a week, so that means I'm thrilled 3 times every week. I really apologize if I know we're like 7 minutes late tonight. There were so many delays getting this stream up tonight. I don't know what's going on. Literally, the last week, this is like the second stream. This is 2 of 3 streams the last week that have been problematic. I hope this is smooth sailing for the rest of the night. We'll see. We will carry on. I maintain that despite the technical difficulties, we have connected with people. We've connected with many people each stream despite the technical difficulties. So thank you guys who are here for the broadcast and have been patient. Everything is loading. Everything's booting up. Okay. There's nothing really set up tonight. There is a bunch of stuff coming in the next couple weeks here on the channel, but nothing that's as much as you get. That's literally as much as I'm gonna say. There's some things coming here in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. More than one thing that you will not want to miss. So make sure your eyes are peeled. That's as much of a spoiler as you get. I'm not going to spoil anything. But with that, we are opening lines here. You guys should know the drill by now. We're going to just talk to people tonight for the next couple hours. I'll make sure we go a little past midnight Eastern time, just to make up for the fact that we're 6 minutes late here. I don't want to let anyone down. We're here for you guys. Thank you for your patience. We've got a 1-800 number here you can call. We will be using this number for the next 2 hours. And we're just going to be talking to people. We have no idea who's going to call, what they're going to talk about. And that's the beauty of it. We just want to hear real stories, real accounts of interesting experiences. The only rule is you literally cannot say your name or the name of anybody involved in your story or where you live. So long as you respect those 2 rules, you will be able to have a conversation here with myself in the chat. The only protective variable we have here is a variable called toast. It sounds like this. And when you give your name or location, we toast you. It's for your own good. We don't want anybody to be toasted here, but we do it from time to time because we don't want people to say something that they don't want to be on record. We want people to feel comfortable saying whatever it is they need to say about their experience here tonight. Bear with me as I get everything opened and ready to go. Okay, lines are opening. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm checking in with the chat here. Everything seems to be going well. Technically, that is. There is so much stuff in the works here on this channel that I cannot even get into. Cam S is a little sad. Well, Cam S, why don't you call in? We won't out you. Call in. Lines are opening. I have no idea if any of you are trying to call in. If you are, just bear with me. Things are still opening up. We're a little behind schedule. I will go a little longer tonight to make up for that. Thank you, The Culture View, for that super chat. Julian, you're going to cameraman for Avatar 2. Avatar 2 has already been shot. No real cameras were involved. James Cameron has been working on that movie for 10 years. In fact, all you have to do is go watch the video I did with him 12 years ago, and you can hear him talking about Avatar 2 to know that there are no optical lenses involved. But I appreciate the super chat. Great question. Okay, calls are coming in now. Everything's opened up. Here we go. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hey, how are you doing?
I am all right. How are you tonight?
I am doing well. I was just wondering if I could get some advice real fast.
What's on your mind?
Well, I recently started getting into a career that I've been focusing on for a while, and I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of falling out of love with it, and I don't know if it's something I should really continue in, or if like it's one of those things where it's like pursue your happiness or just do what gets you through life, you know?
I see. How old are you?
I am 20.
You're 20. What are you falling out of love with, if you don't mind going into a little bit of detail? Don't give us your name or location, but if you can tell us a little bit about your journey and what you're experiencing, that'll help us have a better call here, and the chat can know what better to contribute.
Well, I do live concert like work, so I'm like an audio and lighting technician. So you know, like the weird guys standing around the soundboard doing all the shows. I started in it really early. I was about 12 when I started my apprenticeship, and I've been focusing on it ever since. Um, I'm a high school dropout, and I just started pursuing it because I had a lot of experience, and I was really lucky to get into the field at a young age, and you know, I just kind of always had my mind set on it. But now, you know, bills are getting higher, and I feel like it's just not an interest to me anymore. You know, like I see people going out there and doing all these fun things, and they're like, you know, there's that saying where it's like, it's not a job if you love it. But I just don't feel like I love it anymore. And I just feel like, is it something I should continue to pursue, or should I just, you know, give up on it? I don't really know anymore. I don't feel like I have any other path, but I'd love to do something else that makes me happier, but at the same time, I feel like there's this weight to do it because, you know, like that's the societal, you know, just make money regardless of what you want personally, kind of a feel.
I see. So you're not. It sounds like. Well, first of all, I should say we're not going to give career advice here because none of us know you here, and we don't want to mess up your life. But it sounds like you are not really being fulfilled by the path you've chosen, and that makes me wonder: is there something else that you've fallen in love with, or is there something else that's caught your attention, or something else that you wish was occupying your time that is not?
Uh, that's a good question. I kind of feel like I'm at the point where nothing's super interesting. I mean, there's a lot of things that interest me, and I'm like, hey, you know, I want to go out and I want to experience life, but I feel like there's such a there's such a weight on things now, you know, or settle down and just do whatever you can to get by. But like, I want to go out, I want to explore, I want to experience life. But I mean, I don't feel like that's in my cards and I don't know if that's something that is personally directed to what I've done or how I've done here, or to the point of that, but I'm just not happy with anything, and I don't feel like I can pursue anything realistically. I feel like I'm just stuck.
So now you lead me to, at least I'm feeling led to ask some maybe touchy questions. The questions are things like, on what level are you that has led you to this idea? Or is it that for some other reason you've become bored with the path that you're on? I ask this question because, like, lighting is we could get really philosophical with lighting. Light is everything. In fact, humans walking around on planet Earth do not perceive the world; they perceive light reflections. So, lighting is a wonderful path. I'm not here to tell you that you should keep doing what you're doing, but I'm wondering, have you topped out? Have you reached some apex of lighting or gaffing that is proving unfulfilling to you for some reason? Or is it that, what is it for you? Have you topped out with lighting, or has it just proven to be something that you're not willing to pursue? And neither of these answers there's no wrong answer here. We're not going to give you career advice, but we're happy to spitball with you on what it is that's causing a rub.
I feel like I've reached this threshold, and there's like this preconceived notion that because I'm younger, I can't do as good a job as anyone else, So like I get put down a lot, and I get told, like, hey, you've reached your threshold, and they're like, these. I don't know, for lack of better words, it's just like preconceived notions that, hey, because I'm young, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing, in my opinion, and my voice is kind of just pushed down beneath the rest, if that makes sense. And it's just getting tired.
Is it possible you're in a bad team? Is it possible lighting is actually something you're really passionate about, but you're in a bad team?
I do enjoy it, but I feel like there's no one specific team that I work for. Like I am venue specific, but I also do contract work, so I'm with different people every day, and I feel like it's just a reoccurring thing. No matter who I'm with, this is about the third location I've lived in the last 2 years doing this kind of work, and it's just no matter who I'm working with, it just tends to come up regularly.
Okay, so that that raises some questions for me that get even more personal. I hope you don't mind me going here. I'll give some context for why I'm asking this question. I'm thinking of lighting directors for people like Quentin Tarantino. I'm thinking of lighting directors for people like Steven Spielberg. These are people who are very fulfilled, very respected in their field, very. I've heard interviews with these people. They're passionate about their work. So please, I pray you understand that I'm asking this question because I realize that light is important. Lighting direction in content, whether it's a movie or a live show or whatever it is, light is everything. Light is important. Lighting is important. It makes me wonder questions like, makes me wonder about how you view yourself on a team. It makes me, and this is, I got to be careful because I don't want to insinuate that you're at fault here or that you're bringing this on yourself, because that's not what I'm insinuating. And I don't want to make it seem like that's what I'm saying. But is it possible that the way that you perceive yourself is causing you to garner less respect in these positions than you otherwise might?
I I view myself as knowledgeable, if that makes sense. Um, I definitely have a big jump on most people my age. I I view myself as more a team member than a leader in most situations. Not that I don't want to be a leader or anything. It's just it's where I can help the most. So I view myself as like more like a Swiss Army knife in any situation. You know, like you can throw me on audio, you can throw me on lighting, you can hand me anything, and most of the time I can
You
tackle
see
it.
yourself as a Swiss Army
Um,
knife.
yes.
Um, I see that. I get that. Uh, so more personal questions. Please don't misunderstand the reason for the question, because I hope you realize you're talking to someone who also wears a lot of hats on different projects. I wear the most hats on this very YouTube channel that we're watching here. Even on the biggest jobs I've worked on, I've worn a number of hats. It makes me wonder, what do you think your superiors make of your presentation of being that Swiss Army knife?
I feel like they see it, they'll recognize it when I'm there to support them, and when I can get called in at 1 a.m. out of nowhere, and I can come in and be like, like, thank you, Valley pops out, and then I kind of take the hit for that, typically. And so there are days like that where they just don't see me as a valuable part of the team. That's kind of my perception of how they view me.
Did you say you felt like you're not part of the team sometimes?
Um, I am typically, so I am my own team and my only team a lot of the times when I'm in these bad situations where I'm catching flack. Um, because I am venue specific sometimes, there are a lot of shows, and especially comedians where I'm the only one on staff. I'm doing all the audio, all the lighting, everything in its entirety for one show. So it's kind of hard to say, like, I'm the least important member on the team, where I feel like that sometimes when I am genuinely the only one there to cover these things and make sure they get taken care of.
What was your childhood like? What's your relationship with your brothers and sisters and parents like?
Well, growing up, very typical, um, had a mother who, I was a surprise baby, and then I was like, oh, okay, cool. My father left when I was around 7. Um, he left, my mother remarried a verbally abusive, gentleman, and then I ended up kind of giving her an ultimatum. I was like, hey, you either get him out because he's not a good person to be around, or I'm gonna go move in with my father. And she chose him over me, and then I ended up moving with my father, and that's how I got to where I'm currently living today.
It sounds like you faced a certain amount of opposition growing up, and you've had to kind of fight for the position you have in your family today. Is that right?
I I most definitely have.
It makes me wonder about, yeah, I don't know you. All I know is what you're talking about, of course. Um, but it makes me wonder I mean, you're here talking about some career angst, some questioning whether you should be on this path you're on. It sounds like you've worked your way to a certain uh, level in your own career. It doesn't sound like the place where you are is a regrettable place. It sounds like you're in a place where you're leading certain things. I mean, if you're running lighting for productions, I mean, that's one of the higher level jobs in a production. The gaffer or the lighting director, depending on, I don't know if you're working in live lighting or film production, it doesn't even matter. Light is important. So whether you're a lighting director or a gaffer, you're among the highest paid individuals on set. And it makes me wonder, that's why I'm asking, it's a sensitive question that I feel led to ask. So again, I'm going to say, I hope you don't think I'm like pressing buttons here or getting nasty, because I'm definitely not. I want to understand. I'm asking from the perspective of someone who knows what it's like to be in an elevated position and not understand the position. And so I wonder what it is that you think you might be. Here's a way to ask it. What is it you might be fighting for in your most recent job as a lighting director or gaffer? That what is it you feel you're fighting for?
Mostly recognition and stability.
Would you say that could be a recurring theme in your life with your family or your parents or your siblings?
I mean, if I'm looking at it from an honest perspective, I would say yeah. I mean, now that you bring it up, that's just not a way I've really ever looked at how I've handled things in my past. So that way, I've never really noticed that trend before.
Of course, I don't know you. I've never seen you on a set. I've never. I hope you understand. I'm not judging you in asking that question, but we have a lot of conversations here with different kinds of people every night, and also you're speaking with someone who is familiar with production, and so that's something that I understand quite well. It's making me think to recommend a resource for you that's very popular here on this stream. We talk about it a lot. It's the work of Bella Ruth Naparstek. Have you heard me talk about her?
No, this is actually the first time I haven't been running a production while you were doing these streams. This is the first time I've been able to hang out on the chat and everything.
Okay, great. So Bella Ruth Naparstek, she is amazing. She's an author. She's a counselor, a psychotherapist, and she also has a company called Health Journeys. She creates these guided meditation. They're audio files. You can buy them for anywhere from $6 to $12. They are anywhere from 6 minutes to an hour long, and they go through each different, all kinds of different issues and experiences. Like I'm scrolling through her website here. She's got affirmations. She's got guided meditations for anxiety and panic. She's got meditations for anger, all kinds of things. I'm not saying that any one of these are things that you should look at, but I am saying that it seems to me that based on what you shared, unless there's anything else that you want to get into, it makes me wonder, maybe I shouldn't have even gone there yet with the guided meditation, but I'm just letting you know that's where my head is. Like, I'm like, to connect the dots for you, I'm just thinking like, I fully understand what it's like to grow up in a certain kind of environment and carry that weight into a professional environment, to grow up in a certain home environment and carry that weight into a professional environment. It makes me wonder if there's certain things that you may be doing, or that maybe there's certain things that you might be able to, again, like I hope you don't think I'm getting too sensitive here. I'm not trying to offend you, because these are things that we all have to learn. These are things that like every single person has to learn. Your experience, if what I'm sensing is correct, it's not something that is a personal attack on you, and I'm trying to be very sensitive to that. Uh, you know, if you grew up in a if you grew let's just take the worst case scenario, just for the sake of what I'm saying. Let's say you were raised in an environment where you were beaten within an inch of your life, uh, 5 times a month or something like that. When you become a legal adult, if you grew up in that kind of environment, you're going to grow up with some kind of PTSD. You're going to grow up with some kind of expectation that, and I'm not saying this is what you grew up in. I'm taking a very drastic stance here for the sake of the argument to make the point, as to avoid making it personal to your experience, because I don't know you. So I'm going like way into left field here to make the point. If you grow up being beaten within an inch of your life 5 times a month, when you become an adult, you're going to come to expect certain things, and you will be, for lack of a better term, conditioned to expect certain things. And it makes me wonder if, I don't know what you grew up in. Maybe you could share a little bit more about that. But it makes me wonder, are there certain things you maybe expect through conditioning from your home of origin that are affecting what you wish you'd experience from your adult career or something like that?
I I mean, I guess I can link back to the whole, um, I want, I dislike being told that I don't know what I'm talking about because I grew up in a very, you know, I grew up, being told that by my own mother a lot. It, it was, you know, even over the simplest thing, like, cooking spaghetti, I was told, oh, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, I know it's like a minor thing, but it was a very reoccurring, um, phenomena in my childhood, at least. Is that kind of what you're going for? Is that like kind of what you're referencing?
Possibly. Um, I want to say again, like, I don't know you. I don't, all I know is what you're sharing. And we attempt to have conversations here that very quickly get to uh, the heart of the issue on, admittedly, a lot of things that none of us may understand. So I'm not saying that what I'm saying is correct. All I can go off is what you've shared, um, and but what you just said does sound like what I'm talking about. If you grew up in that kind of environment, I mean, maybe a better way to ask it would be, do you feel do you feel this in any other part of your life outside of career? Or are there by chance friends that you feel the same thing with? Are there by chance other colleagues that you feel this with? Is there by chance other family members that you feel this with?
I'm very much currently isolated from the entirety of my family except for my stepsister.
Okay,
And my career is kind of all that I have been able to focus on because I work at two venues and I also do contract work on the side. So when it comes to my personal life as of right now, my career is kind of everything that I have.
I see. Sounds like you have stepped away from family because it was problematic. Is that right?
That's fairly accurate.
I see. Yeah, there's no judgment in that. Uh, you know, uh, we can't control the homes we grow up in. We can't control. Uh, I mean, we can't control anything that was happening during the ages when we are dependents. Like if you're being claimed on your parents' tax returns, for example, you can't control anything during those years because you're a dependent. Uh, so again, like we're willing to listen here as long as you want to share. If you want to get specific about things that happened during your childhood, we're all ears. Yeah, I'm hearing just based on the surface level stuff we've covered, I'm hearing a lot of stuff that seems related. I'm hearing stuff about your career that seems similar to the stuff you grew up in. And I hope that's not hard to hear. I could understand why it might be. I'm willing to hear anything else you might be able to share here that would make sense of that. Of course, if you were to say, yeah, like actually what I'm experiencing in my professional life is related to the stuff I experienced as a child, then that wouldn't be surprising to any of us here, because most of the people here in the chat are names that I recognize, and and we're here every week, 3 times a week, listening to stories like yours, and it's no surprise that what we grow. I mean, we that's what a brain does. It remembers things, and it remembers things for good reasons. And if we get hurt, whether it's because we stubbed our toe or whether it's because someone beat us within an inch of our life 5 times a month, yeah, I'm painting the extremes here. I'm not saying either one of these apply to you. I'm painting the extremes for the sake of the argument, because I'm assuming that you might fit somewhere in the middle of these based on what you're sharing, and I could be wrong. But suffice to say, whether you stubbed your toe too much or whether certain things happened to you too much, these are all things that your brain remembers and will influence the way you carry yourself as a professional and the ways that you treat others. And I'm not saying that you've brought any of this onto yourself, just to be very clear. I'm not saying that it's your fault any of this has happened. And I'm also saying that the things that happen to us as kids have the potential, at least, to influence the ways that we carry ourselves as adults. And I'm wondering what you're thinking as I say those kinds of things.
I'm definitely relating to a lot of what you're saying. I can recognize that a lot of it is childhood driven, and a lot of it stems from those experiences. I'm mostly curious if there's any. I mean, I don't want to put too much on your shoulders. I wonder if you in your personal life have any advice on how to break those habits of needing to feel like I need to break that chain of thinking.
It's a great question. It makes me wonder how long you've realized there was dysfunction in your adolescent past, we'll call it, and how
I've
long, and how,
I've
and also how long you've. You mentioned that you were separated from your family. I don't know how much of that family consists of. I don't know how much family you're disconnected from, but I'm wondering both of those things. Like at what age how long ago did you realize there was a problem, or at least a disconnect between the way you feel now and the way you were raised, and when did you initiate the boundaries that are currently set in place?
well, I've been aware of the not typical family relationship since I was since my father left when I was 7. That's when I was first able to recognize hey, this isn't a proper functioning dynamic. Um, my mother was bedridden for a few years, and I was you can easily look at that and be like, okay, other kids aren't experiencing that. It's kind of like a dead giveaway. So I had a really early notion of the fact that, hey, this isn't normal. I disconnected the city that she lives in when I moved to live with my father. And I disconnected with my father and that side of the family where I currently live um, after I moved out the day I turned 18. They just they weren't very they didn't give much recognition to mental health being a factor, and I was able to be like, hey, this isn't a good environment for me to be in, and it became a recurring issue, and I gave them several chances and talked to them about it, and that was the point when I kind of terminated um, the toxicity of that relationship.
So it's been going on since your mid-teens, is what I heard. Is that right?
It's been going on for the disconnect's been going on since about 15, 16.
Right. So some of what you're experiencing, I would say, is developmental. That might be a frustrating response for you to hear. You're only 20 years old. These are the ages that we are when we're questioning. They're amongst the ages that we are when we're questioning the ways that we were raised. You're 20. Your whole next decade will be spent questioning these very things and coming to answers on them. I can't answer those things for you. Nobody in the chat can answer those things for you. There are a number of things in the chat that are interesting from the time during your call. You might go revisit some of those after this during the replay and read some of the thoughts that are in there. But my point is that your 20s are spent evaluating what it is that you were raised in and what it is that your life is going to look like. And I'm only in my 30s, mind you, but I've heard from people 20 years older than me that your 20s are spent doing that, and that your 30s are spent learning how to implement the version of yourself you believe in into a productive self, a professional self, a familial self. You basically, in other words, how I've heard it distilled is that your 20s are spent figuring out who you are in light of how you were raised, and your 30s are spent learning how to implement that in a productive way, in a valuable, meaningful way. And then your 40s and 50s are spent reaping the benefits of that implementation. And I say that, I hope that's not a frustrating answer for you, but I say that because I feel the only thing we can do here is acknowledge that you're 20 and you have come to these understandings at the age of 20. And I think that's amazing because it takes many people a lot longer to realize that. It takes many people a lot longer to realize everybody grows up in some kind of injustice. That is to say, nobody grows up in perfect circumstances. Everybody has something they have to figure out. And so, what I'm saying to you is that where you are right now, as frustrating as it might be, is something that everybody goes through to varying degrees, of course. It sounds like maybe you grew up in some extreme circumstances potentially, and your the way that you conduct business could potentially be influenced by the ways that you were raised, and these are things that are healthy to question at this time in your life. Because let's just say, again, let's take an extreme example. I'm going to go as extreme as I can for the sake of the argument, not to say that this is the kind of environment you grew up in, but because I don't know you, I'm going to take an extreme stance just to paint the picture so that it makes sense. Let's say that you were, I'll use the same example I used earlier just for consistency so that I'm not getting too wild. I'll just keep using the same example. Let's say you were abused as a kid. If you were abused, then you would come to expect that your superiors will treat you unfairly, and that you should have no understanding of why it's happening, or because it's a sense of injustice. If you're a kid and you're being abused by a parent, then there's no good reason for that to be happening. So what your brain learns is that there's no good reason for pain. There's no good reason for disrespect. And many people grow up under these circumstances. Many people develop their professional selves in light of these kinds of things. And I feel like that example maybe touches your experience, but is not completely 100% accurate. I drew an extreme comparison. I'm not saying you were abused. I drew an extreme comparison, assuming it would at least touch on what you're experiencing. But I admittedly do not know you, and I'm only going off of what I've heard. So I don't know exactly how relevant that is, but I am curious.
I understand entirely what the picture, or like the idea that you're painting. I just, I personally do struggle a lot with, I can recognize it on my own, and I can be like, hey, this is stemming from, these experiences that I had and this treatment and all that. But in the moment, it's really hard for me to keep a clear mind and know that, hey, these are just thoughts invading my head, and, like pre-trained ideas that, like I'm doing something wrong or something's my fault. And I can't really recognize that until the experience is past and I've had some time to really dwell and meditate on what happened. I'm not the best whatsoever at recognizing that in the moment.
Does it feel familiar? Does it feel when you are disrespected on a set or during a job? Does it feel like, man, I should have seen that coming, or I knew that was going to happen? Is there any resemblance of that?
I definitely get that a lot. I find that I come to be a lot of I tend to be a perfectionist when it comes to my own job. I want to avoid these situations where something goes wrong as much as possible, and I will burn myself out ensuring that I'm not putting myself in these situations. So that is definitely something that I tend to do when it comes to working. I try and avoid that at all costs.
I want to reference to you again the work of Belaruth Naparstek. I'm going to put this in the chat for you because it makes me wonder, are you familiar with meditation? Have you tried meditating? How do you feel about meditating? If I were to give you a resource for someone who made meditation very simple and streamlined, would you check it out? It costs like anywhere from $6 to $20 for 20 minutes to an hour worth of time.
Yeah, I would actually love to check that out.
Okay, great. I'm referencing this because Belaruth Naparstek is a amazing individual. Naparstek. There might be typos in this. Guided meditation. If you review this in the chat from this part in the call, you'll see it. It might have actually gone into the chat earlier. I'm not sure if I actually sent it earlier, so you might see it twice, but either way, you have it. I'm referencing her because she's amazing. She has been, she's someone who has made a lot of things that have helped me over the years, and she's become kind of a regular topic here on Anonymous Live because a lot of people who are calling in here find her work relevant. And, of course, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just somebody who's been through a lot and has digested a lot of these kinds of things. So I try to reference things here, and the chat also tries to reference things here that have helped them, and I try to reference things that have helped me. And Belarus Napperstack is amazing. It can be meditation. I'm not sure how much you've tried it. Are you familiar with meditation? Have you tried meditation?
I've never done like a guided meditation.
Okay. It's an amazing thing to try if meditation is if you find meditation to be difficult for you. If it's a difficult thing to get into, a good guided meditation, I should say, because there's plenty of bad guided meditations. But a good guided meditation could be a great thing to try if you are trying to. It's kind of like it's retraining your brain is what meditation is. You force yourself to focus on something until you grow past it. That's what meditation. That's the simplest way I can think to describe meditation. Belarus Napperstack's guided meditations are so amazing. Her voice is so soothing, and she has this visual language style that is so beautiful, and she just basically takes all the work out of it. I really feel like, based on what you've shared, that this would be a good thing for you to check out, because I do believe that, for better or worse, the things that we were raised with tend to influence what we experience in adult life, in our professional lives, in our adult family lives. We are animals of expectation, and meditation is one of the only good defenses we have against that. It's one of the, I guess I should say in a more positive way, it's one of the best defenses we have against our history and our expectations. Meditation is specifically the work of Belarus Napperstack. I hope you enjoy and benefit from the work she's done as much as I have. She's amazing, and I'm not claiming that she can fix all your problems, or that doing a simple meditation can fix all your problems. But again, my question to you is, again, I don't know you, and we're having a short phone call here. I can't. None of us here can fix any of your problems on a short phone call. But we've seen good results from people just taking one tiny step the next day after a phone call. Tomorrow morning, what is it that you're going to do that will put you on a slightly different trajectory? That's the goal here. And meditation is a beautiful way to reconsider and recontextualize your expectations from childhood, or from any part of life for that matter. And, it sounds like you've been through a lot, and that makes me wonder how much you expect certain things to happen. You've said it yourself here. You've suggested it yourself, at least, that certain things that have happened to you professionally are reminiscent of things you grew up in, and that's interesting. And I'm really sorry to hear it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna check out that resource, and I appreciate you in the chat taking the time to listen to me tonight.
Well, we appreciate you calling in. That's what we're here for. Our Discord server is a great resource for people who just need to talk. It's like it's not as good as a support group. If this gets so bad that you need a support group is a great idea. Again, we didn't get into the details of what you grew up in specifically, but if you grew up in abuse, some kind of parental abuse support group might be a good resource for you to meet other people like that who grew up with that experience. And if not, then even if that's the case, the Discord that we have, the Anonymous Live Discord, the link is in the description, is a place where there's about 700 people in there who are there specifically because they want to hear stories from people, specifically because they want to connect with people who want to talk about real things that are difficult. So I'm simultaneously suggesting that maybe if this gets more intense, you check out some kind of support group, and also that maybe there might be some value in our Discord server for you, just to meet other people who are willing to talk about very real things. And I don't know you. I want to reiterate that. But a lot of the things you've said tonight have connected with me and resonated with me, and I hope you benefit from the work of Balderuth Nepperstack as I have, and please know you can always call back. You can call back here anytime you want. Give us an update or ask another question. The lines here are always open to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm wishing you the best. Take care.
You too.
Good night. All right, chat. I didn't get a chance to pull anything from the chat during that call. I was so focused on the caller and trying to understand the situation. I sensed that caller had a lot more to share that we didn't get into. We try to keep calls here to 30 minutes just to make sure that we can reach enough people every night that because there's so many people calling in here every night. There's already people calling in now. We're going to take the next call, but I hope you guys understand. Thank you, chat. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hello. Basically, I've been thinking about something that has been bothering me a lot, pretty much every night. But I have a brother who, his daughter, my niece, they haven't spoken in about a year and a half, or almost 2 years, and I guess I just am mostly concerned about like my brother's mental state, and I'm kind of a fixer when it comes to relationships, and like I wish I could help other people in relationships a lot, and so I guess I'm just more so hoping to help my brother out with like getting to reestablish a relationship with his daughter again. She also hasn't spoken to me or my mom and dad in a long time either, and we used to be really, really close. But yeah, so that's basically why I'm calling.
I see. So to be clear, your brother, just make sure I understand correctly, your brother has not spoken with his daughter in how long?
Almost 2 years.
I see. Wow.
Yeah, so basically what happened was she decided that she didn't really want to spend time with my brother. I think it's because he never really was at a place financially to have her at his place of residence, and he most of the time when we visited her, she was at my parents' house, and that's how they kind of got to see each other. So and then whenever they were together and hanging out and bonding, it was more so about things that he wanted to do rather than like what she wanted to do. So I feel like maybe he just didn't they didn't really have a strong like connection as much growing up as she was growing up. But he still like definitely loves her and like wants to always spend time with her. So this haven't since he hasn't been able to see her, he's been just really sad. And so because she decided that she wanted to still see my parents and everything, but we felt that it was kind of a hard situation because we wanted to be able to support my brother. And so she, because of that, we didn't see her very much. And then COVID happened. And then with COVID, we definitely just didn't see her. And then not forgot, but we just didn't reach out as much as we should have. And then so around her birthday, I tried to rekindle something, and I had like a little birthday party for her at my house, and I was letting her know like, hey, this is just something small for you to come to, and we can all be here, and my parents. It was a very small party thing, and I haven't seen her pretty much since that day, and I've texted her, my parents have texted her, and she just doesn't respond or anything, so it's just pretty sad.
So, if I'm understanding right, you are the aunt
Yeah.
of a child who is estranged from their father, and that is unfortunate to you. and a lot of that is due to finances?
Partly finances. As far as my brother, he hasn't been able to like have her at his home or anything. He he's mostly had to live with my parents for a couple years, and
Right.
just recently was able to get on his own. But mostly, I think I don't really know exactly the reasons why she has kind of chosen to not be in contact with us with anymore. But I guess my main concern is like knowing what I can control with this like problem or versus what I can't control. Since I'm definitely a fixer when it comes to relationships and things.
Right. Well, your question makes me wonder what else there is to know. I mean, based on what you shared, I don't know that there is anything you can do. I mean, it's your brother's daughter. Uh,
Right.
unless there's anything else you can share, that's what immediately comes to mind. Are there any other relevant details?
Um, he has mentioned to me like how like his mental state. He's always thinking about how he misses her, and he's told me recently like if I can't reconnect or make this right, then he said like what's the point? And to me that really scares me, and that's mostly the thing I think about at night the most is just worrying about my brother and that he feels so stuck and he feels so helpless with how to rekindle this. And I've come up with a list. I'm still kind of working on it, but I told him that I would try to reach out to me like a school counselor, and I've also told him I could maybe write her a letter and just so that she knows that I still love her, because I think he's also worried that she doesn't think that we care for her, the other family members, that we've abandoned her in some way. So he wants us to like write a letter or just reach out in some way to let her know that we care for her. So I have writing a letter on my list, and I have uh, finding a school counselor. I'm not really sure. He might have to maybe look into some legal things, but I don't know if he could afford that.
Right. Cam S from the chat says to you, as someone estranged from their father, I feel like all you can do is give your niece the love and patience she needs to come forward and talk about how she's feeling. It makes me wonder if that's true. I mean, if you are in that spot where your niece has limited interaction with her dad, that uh, it sounds like you're in a much more stable place, and where you're coming at this from is that you're confused how best to be there for your family without overstepping, without judging. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. Like I have at a place where do I have to let her like make the moves and open up, or do I persist and, or I guess not the right word, but do I continue to reach out, or um is it not a good thing to keep doing that? Like would that be too much to keep reaching out to be the one, or would it be better to give her the space and like let her reach out? But at the same time, I want to make sure she knows that like we're still here. But I think that makes sense though what the caller or the person in the chat was saying.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam S, for that thought. How old is your niece?
So she's pretty young, and that's the other thing too. She's in middle school.
Mm. I would say that's a great time for an aunt or an uncle to be involved.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I definitely miss her. It's I mean, of course, she's my niece, and I've known her when she was a baby. She used to be a lot more involved on my side of the family, with my brother and my mom and my dad. And my mom used to watch her all the time and babysit and everything. So we still live in the same town.
right.
So yeah, and my mom said that she saw her one time at like a fair of some kind, and my niece was kind of shocked to see her, and that she cried and like ran away, which was really sad. I think she just was maybe so caught with emotion because it has been so long that it took her off guard, and all the emotions of like maybe she does feel abandoned by us in some way. I'm not sure. It's a big question mark on what she's feeling, so I have no idea.
Right. Uh, okay, I know you shared the age of your niece. I apologize. I tried to ask this question up front, but I failed to in your case. Can you tell us how old you are? This helps us make these
Oh yeah,
calls. Go ahead.
I'm 28.
You're 28. That helps us make these calls more discoverable by people who are looking for people of a similar age. I appreciate you sharing that. Please don't give us your name or location, of course. We'll have to toast you. Yeah, I would say your niece is very young. Of course, you're not young or old. I would say. I guess I'd say you're young. You're young. I'd say I'm young. But your niece is in middle school and is experiencing a lack of family, I would say. I mean, doesn't get to be around her dad. Are you are you married, or are you able to be a good influence on what a family looks like to your niece? We haven't gotten into your personal situation.
Yeah, so I'm married about 3 years, and I have a newborn. Well, not newborn. He's an infant, and so yeah, and she hasn't met my baby yet. But and I grew up with my parents who are still married. My brother, he's about I would say quite a bit of an age gap between my brother and I. He's older than me, about 9 or 10 years, and he kind of grew up in a way that I was I was definitely given a lot more attention, and we have different dads, but he kind of wasn't my dad's favorite. So not that like my dad just didn't really they just don't have a good relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and they still don't really have a good relationship. So my brother hasn't really had like a good dad figure to look up to, but um my parents, I definitely would say they're great and stable and everything. They've been
Good.
married for about 25 years.
Okay. Well, your niece has that going for them, that they'll be able to see your parents, their grandparents, uh, in what sounds like a healthy relationship. Uh, this is one of the maybe this gets right at the point of your call, but this just makes me think of the discrepancy between a lot of people grow up in an unstable household because of lack of relationship, or a disrespectful relationship, or a misunderstood relationship, and a lot of kids grow up in broken homes because of these things. It sounds like your brother grew up in a version of that, or raised his kid in a version of that, where now they're I don't know the circumstances behind your brother's partner that is the mother of this child. I don't know where she is, but it sounds like that has been broken. It sounds like your brother is on his own. It sounds like your brother doesn't have enough money to care for the child. And the general theme I'm picking up on is that, for whatever reason, finances are the main variable here for your brother not being able to be a good father. Is that more or less right, what I just said?
Yeah, I would say so, yes.
Okay.
He's always kind of struggled financially. So he's never been on his own per se. Like he's always had roommates, or he's with my parents, and recently he's been able to stand on his own. So we just live together, and so her mom and my brother aren't together. They haven't been together for the majority of her life. I think they separated when she was about 2. So she's always kind of grown up with her mom, and her mom did remarry. She's divorced, but she at one point was remarried, and so she kind of grew up calling a different person dad. Um, so that's another part of it too. But yeah, you're right. Finances definitely played a part.
Yeah, it's a hard spot to be in, because kids are old enough to learn. I mean, kids need to know how people interact. Kids need to know how people have relationships. Kids need to be trained how relationships work, and of course, kids need to know how money works too. But there's a threshold to that part of it, the money part of it. Like you don't go telling your 4-year-old about debt and and stuff like that, or you get the point. Finances are not quite natural in the way that relationships are, and I feel that I feel at least that like what you're saying makes perfect sense from the standpoint that uh, your brother has had a lot of financial issues that would be very difficult for your niece to understand in middle school, and you're concerned that your niece is not getting certain relational I'm restraining from saying the word training. There's a better word than training, but relational experience. There's a relational experience, relational understanding, how people connect, how people work together. That's something that anyone can. These are things that toddlers learn, for crying out loud. I mean, and that's what I sense you're saying. Is that right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think she, so she was maybe 9 or 10 when we lost contact, and so she was probably around that age where it was. She was kind of aware of how my brother probably was at a not as good of a financial standing, but not as to know like that's why he couldn't really raise her in his own like home or anything like that or
Right.
have custody. So yeah, and I think she was probably, I don't know like, if this plays a part into it, but like if puberty, like going through puberty, if it changes like a lot of relationships or how kids see the world, but um, I'm guessing maybe that was part of it too. Um, but yeah.
Right. MP Zigzag from the chat has a good question. They're asking, is there any contact with the mother?
From me, no. My brother did say he tried to call her a couple months ago, and she was kind of like laughing at him when she was like in a room with her friend, and I don't really know uh, what exactly was said, but my brother was emotional because he, was trying to convey that he, wants to see his daughter, and from what I understood is that the mother was like laughing at him because he was messing up on his words because he was getting emotional and words were said and it didn't end well. And so my brother's always said that he can't like talk to her, and it's kind of been my niece's whole life that it's my mom that is the middleman, and she's always had been like the middleman, like when it comes to visits, when it comes to um, my niece coming over, and so things like that. My mom's always been the one to communicate with the mom, so which
Right.
is definitely doesn't help. And the other things are that the mom she will text things, so if there's ever a miscommunication, or if there's things going on when there's text messages, I feel like she overreacts in a certain way, or things get miscommunicated. But she likes to fight through text, and it's just a lot more difficult that way because I feel like she doesn't really understand like the right tones and the right like the ways that we're trying to convey things. She just blows it out of proportion and things like that. So
Right.
so yeah, they definitely don't have a good communication style.
Does your niece have contact with her mother?
Yes, yeah, they live together.
They live together.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
her and her mother. Yes, she hasn't seen my mother, her grandma, in a long time. But
So how would the mother
yeah,
feel if you, the aunt of your uh, I mean, I mean, how would, I mean, you're not related to the mother. Your brother is her father. How would
Hmm.
the mother feel about you becoming more active in your niece's life?
I'm not really sure. I would like to maybe try to see how she feels about me, either by writing a letter or trying to call her. But a part of me is kind of worried that she believes a lot of misunderstandings, or if she might see me in a negative way. Um, I haven't talked to her in a long time, but a part of me worries that she might sense that I'm a manipulator of some kind, just because of things in the past, things I've accidentally said that might have been a little pushy at the time,
Hmm.
towards my niece. Which, looking back, I totally understand that. Like, I could have said things differently that could have been less assertive, I guess, and more open. So a part of me worries that she might think I'm a manipulator or pushy person, and in the ways that I might have acted in the past. So I worry that me calling her, if I come on too strong, um, about like, I don't want to go about it in the wrong way where I seem like I'm trying to force my niece into anything,
I
without,
see.
yeah.
I
So if
see.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Well, like everybody says things they don't mean to say. Everybody, I mean, like most people only have the luxury. Most people, most of the time, I should say, only have the luxury of acting on impulse. That is to say, things happen and we react to them. Not everybody can react perfectly 100% of the time. That would be impossible. Um, you know, makes me wonder. Like, I don't know how the relationship ended between your brother and his former partner, the mother of his child, but it does make me also wonder what you think, what do you think the response would be if you called your brother's former partner and said, "Look, uh, I realize you're the mother of my brother's child. I realize you two are no longer together. I realize I'm a distant memory to you, possibly. I realize you might have some opinions about me. Uh, at the same time, I love my niece. I love the baby I love your baby. I love the baby that my brother had with you. And I always will. And, uh, and using that, whether this is a text or an email or a phone call I don't know how your relationship is. Maybe you meet up for coffee, but is there some way that you think you could meet up with her and say, look, like, say these things and say, look, like, do I owe you an apology for something? Is there something that I can apologize for? Like, if so, like, I want to know what that is. Use that opportunity to make things right if you need to set the record straight so that there's no question about your character, so that the mother has no question about their daughter spending time with you. Uh, is there some way you can build a bridge there such that your brother's former partner feels comfortable with you being around? Maybe you become like an honorary parent. I'm not saying that like you have to like take financial
Hmm.
responsibility for your niece or something like that, but I'm saying like it sounds like your niece needs some kind of good influence from an adult with their own life to glean from. And it sounds like you want to be that. And it sounds like the hurdle is your brother and his former relationship, and maybe whether or not your brother's former partner judges you or has opinions about you. And so I'm wondering, like, is there some way, whether it's a phone call again or a text or meeting up for coffee, to like offering to buy her coffee, taking the financial strain off the meeting up, just being like, hey, I want to buy you coffee. Let's meet up for coffee. I'll buy you coffee. Meet me for 45 minutes, and just saying like, look, like I don't know what the words are. I'm fishing here, admittedly, but I'm saying like, what is it that you think would get you? It sounds like the boundary is with the mother. It sounds like the hurdle is with the mother. What could you do to get with the mother and say, and make things right, and form an understanding, so that the mother knows, like, look, I realize you're gonna go live your own life. you're, you're gonna have your separate life. At the same time, you had a kid with my brother, and I love my niece. I always will. And so it could be valuable to the mother for you to be. It could be helpful to the mother for you to be around as an aunt. So I'm wondering what that looks like, what that next step looks like to you.
I really like how you were saying, like, to clear things up and to start off, like, if I need to apologize and what that is, because I think that's a big part. I think there's a lot of assumptions on both sides, that she's assuming there's this one thing, and I'm assuming there's one thing, and so I really do like the idea of meeting up. I think it's just building up the confidence to that, I guess. I know that in the past, like I've said, texting can kind of be her go-to, and a lot of times with text, it doesn't really end well, because she kind of blows things out of proportion, or she misunderstands things. So I think I'm the person that's I can communicate better in person, like seeing her face and being able to talk about things in a calm way, and as gentle as I can, with trying to be as understanding as I can. So I think I do like that idea of trying to meet up for coffee. I think it's just part is maybe building up confidence. I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I'm also very afraid of conflict. I'm always the kind of person that will I'd rather get myself hurt than someone else actually get hurt. So I would rather just avoid conflict completely. But
Right.
If I do go, it would be good for me to talk to her person to person and ask questions and kind of see where she's at. So a lot of times I like to go with people for things, but I feel like if my husband were to come along, I don't think it would be as good, because it might seem like ganging up on her. Now that we would be, but two for one would be a little bit awkward. So it might be better to do one-on-one. And I do like your idea of being the bridge, and you think that that she's the one to go through, which I think would be good, because I do feel kind of awkward being the one to, like, just try to contact my niece directly, especially her being so young. I do
Right.
feel like it's more appropriate to go to the mother. And I do need to, like, probably muster up some confidence and then find out exactly what my questions are, I guess, and
Right.
the right words to find. I do think that's actually a really good idea.
So two things I'll say in response to that from the chat. I'm going to regurgitate two things to you from the chat. The first one comes from Deanna Krebs, one of our mods, one of our longest running mods. She says to you, caller, unfortunately, now this is going to come to a challenge to you. This is going to come as a challenge to you, but hear it out. I believe this is in response to you saying you were a people pleaser. So there's no judgment in it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know you. Deanna Krebs is, I know she's saying this in love. She says, caller, unfortunately, avoiding conflict creates more conflict in the future, often when communication is needed. And now I'm going to scroll up and say something else to you from Cam S, who was the same commenter from earlier that I referenced. They say to you, caller, you sound so supportive. I can't say how the niece will react, but when I was around her niece's age, when I was around your niece's age, my uncles told me how much my dad cared about me and cried because he could not see me. And I feel like Cam S from the chat, based on the few things I've referenced from them, I feel like Cam S might really understand what you're going through on a level that maybe nobody else here does. I don't know if Cam S is in our Discord server. I don't know if you, the caller, are in our Discord server, but I feel like maybe you two connecting might be valuable. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not claiming it's 100% right, but maybe it's. I'm talking to you, and I'm referencing some things from them. I feel like maybe there's some value there in you two connecting. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't. What do you think when I read those two things to you?
Yeah, I definitely agree that um, communication it will get worse if I don't just directly go for it. And yeah, conflict it's definitely a part of life and something I'm getting better at, I think. I work with children and I've learned like, you got to use your words.
Right.
I always tell children, you have to use your words. And so with the same thing I tell children, I'm learning that I need to use my words and just be as direct as possible. Um, so I definitely agree with that, and I think that's for sure something I'll do. And then the other person, yeah, I am a part of the Discord, so I'll try to reach out, and I think that's a good point to know that like my relationship with my niece could be a positive thing, and I could always just tell my niece like, hey, your dad loves you, and just keep letting her know that until maybe she's ready
Right.
for something more. But yeah, I think that's really good. And I do like earlier you were saying like I love to the mother, I love your daughter, I love your baby. I think that's also really good to say to her that she knows that those are my intentions. Like my intentions aren't to be pushy or manipulative or to force my own agenda, but more so to know what I did and or know what to do and to let her know that like I still love my niece and I worry about her a lot. I hope that she's okay. I worry about how she thinks about us.
Right.
And I
Understandably.
worry about my brother and how he feels because he definitely misses her. So I mean the bottom line is nothing happens if nothing happens and um so
Is
yes, I can still hear you.
Yeah, so Deanna Krebs from the chat is wanting me to tell you that her name is Slinks in the Discord. So she's wanting me to tell you to reach out to her if you need to talk to someone. She's
Okay.
she's very active there. I also think I also know Cam S said they'd be available to talk. I don't know their name in the Discord, but maybe they've left it somewhere in the YouTube chat here that I haven't seen. That's possible. But the Discord server has been a valuable resource for people to just talk and get thoughts, get ideas, get feedback. So you might check that out. But yeah, I just wanted to reference that Deanna Krebs is mentioning that. It also makes me wonder, if you don't mind, we're past 30 minutes here, which is the time limit, but your issue is so dense. I hope you don't mind me prodding a little bit. Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned you're a people pleaser, and there's no judgment for that. I mean, I appreciate you volunteering that in the equation. It helps all of us understand what's going on a little better. Makes me wonder where you think you get that from. Makes me wonder what you think led you to develop that kind of tendency. What do you think that is?
So probably something I get from my mom and friends maybe too. Like my mom's very selfless. She's a very good mother, but she definitely like puts others first. And then I guess the other thing is too, I'm very shy. I was very shy growing up, and so I noticed a way to get friends was to be kind and give them compliments and just be extra kind and helpful. And so I guess there's probably a moment or two when I was growing up that I noticed like I almost lost friendships because I got maybe too carefree in like my relationship. I felt too secure and I would make a lot of jokes and get a little maybe I was a bit sensitive with my jokes. I'm not sure, but I was young. I'm sure I was just not really realizing like that when I make certain jokes that it's not funny. So but my dad has like mean jokes. He's kind of like he's mean humor, if that makes sense. And so I kind of get the same kind of humor. And so I did have these close friends growing up that I wanted to keep. And so one time they did tell me like, hey, you need to stop like being like that or we're not gonna be friends. And so ever since then I'm like, oh, I probably should like censor myself more and I should try to keep these friendships. So I've actually kept, I've have one friend I've known since I was 4, and I've other friends that are close to me that I've known since I was about 7. And so I keep the same friends, and I've kept them for a long time. And I think part of me is just, so keen on keeping those that I would almost do anything to keep the people I love and make sure they know I love them. And yeah, so that's probably part of the people pleasing. Also, my fear of conflict is just the other reason why I people please, so I don't make anyone upset or.
That's what I'm getting
Um,
at. The fear.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
fear of conflict. That's what I picked up when people say people pleasing. That's what that means to me. Fear of conflict. It makes me wonder, like, where did that come from? Was your dad? Now I don't know what this will mean to you. I don't know you, so I hope you don't mind me asking this question. Was your dad? You mentioned your mom was very selfless, so that's where this is coming from. The word selfless to me is interesting word. It's an interesting phrase, selfless. I mean, nobody is selfless, because if people were selfless, they wouldn't feed themselves, they wouldn't dress themselves, they would walk out in front of oncoming traffic, they wouldn't think about themselves. That's like the epitome of selflessness. So it makes me wonder, when somebody says someone in their life was selfless, it makes me wonder what the partner of that person was like, and that makes me wonder what your dad was like. Was your dad aggressive?
So he wasn't aggressive, but it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. You're getting at how he's probably going to be like the opposite, which is true. I would say he was in the military for 20 years. He went to
Okay.
Iraq for a year when I was 9.
Okay.
So for that whole year, my mom was my main caregiver, and so
I see.
he's a hard worker. He's always doing stuff around the house to fix it up. He works very hard. Like I said, he wakes up early. He doesn't miss a day if he doesn't have to. He works on cars, works on house. Yeah, he does all this stuff. He's a bit of a negative person, kind of a pessimistic, and my mom can get kind of tired of that. And he can be a little critical. I grew up in I grew up loved, very much loved, but also I grew up being aware of certain things, like making sure the lights are off before I leave a room, making sure I take care of materials and things, because my dad is very, he takes care of materials and makes sure things are in a good condition.
Right.
And he gets mad if there are things that get broken, or he doesn't get too mad, but
Maybe aggressive
I
is a
can
bad
definitely tell.
word. Would you say overbearing? Was he overbearing?
Yeah, overbearing, critical, or hard-headed, I guess.
I see.
Not stubborn, but yeah, military kind of guy.
Impractically demanding.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good word.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not to judge your dad. It's not to judge your mom. It's to acknowledge, like people pleasing doesn't come from nowhere, is my point. You said you were a people pleaser. I certainly know what that's like. I certainly know that experience, and I know that doesn't come from nowhere, because it's not a normal tendency to be a people pleaser. It's normal to, empathy is a beautiful thing, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this without knowing your parents. I'll use this as a general term. Codependent relationships are everywhere. I'm not saying your parents are codependent. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know if you'd define them as codependent, but it sounds like we had one parent that was really giving and forgiving, and you had one parent. Your dad was in the military. That makes a lot of sense. Like, a lot of people come back from the military with PTSD, and they see a lot of things that they don't know how to compartmentalize, and that is a whole other can of worms that, of course, we don't even have time for tonight, much less, like, if we were to speak every night for the next 7 days, we wouldn't be able to get to the bottom of it. It's such a dense issue. People who come back from the military with those kinds of things. But the point is that it sounds like your mom was very gracious. It sounds like your mom was very understanding. And it sounds like you really identified with your mom. Were you by chance the oldest or the oldest daughter?
Yes, I do identify with my mom a lot. I am the youngest. My brother's
Oh,
like 10 years older than me. And
okay.
it's just the two of us, my brother and me. And
Oh, okay.
so,
Wow.
yeah. And he is about 10 years older, yeah, and I'm 28. And so we have a really special relationship. And my brother and my dad don't, because my dad's not my
Interesting.
biological. He's not my brother's biological dad. He's my biological dad, not his. Um,
Interesting.
but
So there's two of
yeah,
you.
she's an INFP and I'm an INFP. So we both have the same personality type
Okay.
and everything.
I see. So there's two. You have one sibling, and he's a brother, and he's 10 years older.
Yep.
And you and your mother have the
Yeah.
same Myers-Briggs score.
Yes.
I see. Yeah, you're INSP. You're both INSPs, you said.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
see.
I think one of the words is dreamer. So like we like imagination. Um,
Are you there? What was
Unfortunately,
that?
I can't hear you.
What was that last bit you
Oh,
said? I'm
now
sorry.
I can. Sorry. I said we are both like Anne from Anne of Green Gables, and we're both like Mr. Rogers. Those are the INFP types.
Right, right, right. That makes perfect sense.
So.
I'm not laughing because it's. I
Mhm.
mean, it is. Those were good examples. That's why I'm laughing. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. To you, I would say that like you got a fascinating story. I hope you don't mind me digging a little bit into your personal life. I know you were calling about your niece, but you mentioned that you're a people pleaser, and and there's no judgment. I think it's beautiful when people like I think there's nothing more productive than like when people call in here and they know exactly like what they are bringing to an experience, and I applaud you that you recognize that about yourself, because that's a huge thing. Like I even saw a couple of questions in the chat while you were sharing, like, is this a bad thing or is this like not normal, your experience? And like that's the case in point that like the fact that you were able to call in and say, look, like I'm having this experience. I don't know how to talk to my former sister-in-law. Suffice to say, I don't even know if your brother was even ever married to her, but suffice to say, your former sister-in-law, I don't know how to call her. And you mentioned that you were a people pleaser and that was complicating it. And I thought, like, I hope you don't mind I zeroed in on that. Um, but I think it's awesome that you understood that about yourself, because it seems like a very big variable. It's not to say that you should go in guns blazing into that conversation. In fact, the fact that you're a people pleaser or that you have that tendency will probably serve you well in easing into that conversation. Like, in other words, you will know better than most people when you're raising red flags, or um, when you say something that's inflammatory. You will have a better sense of that than most people because you have that tendency. And if there's one thing I want you to take from the last 10 minutes of conversation we've had, it would be that um, I would encourage you to plow into that conversation and not, um, you're gonna have your own sense of how the conversation is going, of course, but just I'm encouraging you to have that conversation, because it seems like if you are that way, then you're gonna have a better sense of how the conversation's going than a lot of people would. You're gonna be much more sensitive to it than a lot of people would.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. That makes me feel a little bit better knowing that it can be a strength. A lot of times it's also a hindrance,
Right.
but I do like that idea that I will be more aware. Um, I do also, on the flip side of help, like being able to talk to the mother, by being a people pleaser. I'm hoping, like, in the same way that I'm a people pleaser with my brother, that I um, don't get too consumed on trying to fix that relationship for him. So I'm going to try to maybe hone that in with just focusing on the mother and how I could use that as strength for that conversation. I think that would be good. So I definitely like that you pointed out that I could be more aware.
Yeah, that's the point. That's totally the point. You actually said it better than I did. That's the point, is that because you have that tendency in your history, that will make you more sensitive. I think that's a beautiful way to put it. So yeah, that's my point, is feel confidence in going into that conversation, because you likely will not ruffle feathers. You likely will be more careful than not. And you also have the advantage of being a mother yourself, and your former sister-in-law. I don't know if they're married, but suffice to say, it's the simplest way to say it. Except when I give all these disclaimers, it gets more complicated. But your former sister-in-law will understand that. Like, you're both mothers, Like,
Yeah.
she'll understand that about you. She has that. You have that in common right out of the gate. So, if there's one thing I want to encourage you with, it's that you have things in common with her, and that you have the advantage of not wanting to ruffle feathers, and so you will be more sensitive to that, and there is strength in that. And I'm really glad you put it in better words than I did, because I think that's exactly it. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate your call.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling and sharing the way you did. Hoping for a good update from you. Hoping you connect with some people in the Discord that are valuable, and feel free to call again anytime.
Okay, and just last thing, I wanted to let you know that my favorite video of yours is Malk, and I absolutely love that video. I still watch it maybe once a month.
Once a month. I
So,
appreciate it. Thank you for the support, and
yeah.
hope to hear from you again. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night. All right, guys, we got 14 minutes left tonight. I'm right on the verge of wondering if we can even get into a meaningful conversation. We are going to keep the lines open. I'm going to take one more call. Just please know, if you are calling, I can't go late tonight. We will wind down the stream in 14 minutes. I'm going to answer a call at random. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hello?
Hello, thanks for calling.
Hey. So thanks. I got this issue with, and sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Well, he kind of, has sociopathic behaviors, and it's kind of hard for me to live with him. It's really just us two. It took me a long time to articulate that, but he engages in a lot of raging when things don't go his way. So I just wanted to know if that was wrong of me to call him that, and how I could deal with it. The way I've been doing it now is kind of stonewalling being short, and giving kind of answers that are curt, and not giving him the satisfaction of attention, and making sure that he kind of keeps it to business with me, and he doesn't like that, because I wonder if he likes to play mind games. And
Right.
so I talked to my sister about it, and she said she dealt with that, but with my mother. And the four of us used to live in the same house, and she had to move out, and it really beat her up. But as far as me, I mean, I want to catch this before it puts me down, and I hope I'm not putting him down, because he doesn't admit that he would get lonely or depressed, and I don't believe him, and I want to help him.
You cut out briefly at the very beginning when you were telling. I heard everything else besides who this is you're dealing with. Did you say this was your father or a roommate?
Oh, yeah, brother,
A
and
brother.
I should mention that I'm 23, he's 30, and we just live together in my mom's other house, and my mom got remarried with my stepdad, and my sister is the middle child, and she doesn't live with us, so it's just us two. And he kind of just works from home, which is great. He has a great job, and he's comfortable, but he never leaves his room, and he never hangs out with anyone other than family. I was just with him tonight, and it was just we didn't have much to say, and I don't want to be that person who hasn't talked to him for 5 years.
Right. Well, you got a tall order. Did you say you're 23 and he's 7 years older? Is that right?
That is.
You got a tall order, my friend. You are living. It sounds like. I mean, I can only go off your word here, but everything you have said in this short call checks off the list of psychopathic behavior. So I trust you that what you're saying is true. I mean, everything you've said, it sounds quintessential psychopathic. Living in isolation, isolating themselves, only dealing with people that they have very deep history with, like only interacting with family. In other words, being unreasonable. These are all indicators of living with a psychopath. Of course, I'm not qualified to diagnose a psychopath, so all I can go off of is your account and the way that you feel. And it seems like you feel that you're dealing with somebody who, I mean, the biggest thing you said during this call is that you feel the need to just not give them anything. You feel the need to just like give your brother zero. And if that's the case, I would say, like that's the logical response to give a psychopath. Like when we encounter psychopaths, we want to give them zero. And all I can do here is report the work of people like Dr. Ramani Deversala and Jackson McKenzie and other psychologists who I've read on the topic of narcissism. There's some books we can get into later, depending on how the call goes. There's some books I can recommend that might be valuable for you. But the first thing I want to say is that your instinct to give the psychopath zero is completely understandable, but I don't think it's the most tactful response. What else can you share about your situation?
Yeah, I just remembered another critical point that he tries to rationalize everything his way, and what I mean is he'll turn a normal conversation into a speech, a monologue, and he'll just own it and just talk about this advanced mathematics, which I'm glad he's smart, but he's got to be smart. And man, not tonight, but before when we were hanging out with my grandparents together, he was just like kind of dropping that little hint, like I'm smart, and as a hypothetical, but kind of just feeding his ego. And oh man, it's like I see it now, and it creeps me out. And whenever he's in the room with me, creeps me out because I know he's watching me, and like he just like in these conversations, he kind of just shoots down what I say as disagreeable as possible, and it makes it really hard for me to have self-respect when I want to. It kind of indulge that, and I tried it for a while, and it was just draining, and I got to take care of number one. So that's kind of my response. But what did you mean when you said that kind of giving him zero isn't always, would you say was the most tactical?
It's not the most tactful, is what I would say. It's not the most,
Oh.
like in other words, hear me out. I'm saying, when I say that, I'm saying it's natural. It's like it's what anyone wants. We all know psychopaths. 15% of the human population is a psychopath of some kind. It's not to say that they're all narcissists or histrionic or the most extreme ones, but 15% of the global population is estimated to be psychopaths. This is not my own research, of course. This is done by much smarter people than me that I'm just regurgitating to you. You can look it up yourself if you want. But the point is that we all know people like this, and the natural response when we meet someone like that is to give them zero. So I'm saying, like, yeah, it's a normal response to want to give a psychopath zero, but it's not always the smartest thing to do. There are much, in my opinion, and in the opinions of other people as well, there are better ways to deal with narcissists. Although, like, I'm not saying, like, if you want to give a narcissist absolutely zero, give them absolutely zero. It doesn't sound like you're in the position to give the narcissist absolutely zero, because it sounds like you're living with the narcissist. It sounds like you cannot give them zero. It sounds like you have to at least give them something. So my argument to you is that There may be better ways, even if you were not living with them, even if you were living in a totally separate house, there are probably better ways to deal with it than to give them 0. This is how I personally choose to deal with people like that. It's not I'm not telling you what to do, but you've called in here, and that's what I would say to you, is that there's better ways to deal with a narcissist than to give them 0, even if you're living with them, regardless. And I would say that is to know your boundaries and stick to them for sure. In that sense, you should give them 0. You should never give on your own boundaries with a narcissist. You should always stick to your own. You should always stick to your own convictions and instincts. You should never give something you're not prepared to give. In that sense, you should give them 0. And at the same time, there are ways to respectfully deny a psychopath that is more productive. Would be my that would be my opening statement, at least. And we can keep going. And, we are going to wind down the stream in about 5 minutes, but we can share. Please share more about what you're going through. I want to hear more about what the experience is like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't always like this. When we were very tight when I was like in elementary through sophomore year of high school, and I would follow him around and always want to hang out with his friends. Like, he played sports, and he was just kind of a normal, well-adjusted guy, and I kind of chalk it up to, and I know some folks might not like hearing this, but I think he gained too much entitlement from academia. I am a student myself in finance, and he's a mechanical engineer, so of course I am an advocate of the students, but I mean, you know how it can be. I mean, he kind of has a lot of entitlement and expects things from me. So I just remembered there was one time he doesn't like little things when I do, like if I'm sneezing, if I cough. I mean, I can't control that. I would not like to. And he's like looking at me with disgust and saying like, why are you doing that? And he's always questioning me, expecting that like I have to have the answer. And it's like, that is kind of hard for me to, I'm frozen. Like, he's like, why are you doing that? And I know if I don't give him the answer he wants, he's going to get upset and escalate. So recently I picked up my sandals, walked out the door in the rain, went for a 10-minute walk, and came back before it got even worse. I mean, what else am I going to do? I just got to leave the situation. So he's trying to manipulate, and already I am an extrovert. I am an ENFP, and he prides himself on being, in the Myers-Briggs, a logistician, or however you pronounce it. And I mean, it's just, I might be easily manipulated because I want to be like emotionally transparent, but I found how to make my face blank, give him just a solid one-word answer, and that's it. And I want to know how to be more respectful so I don't escalate these things too.
I see. Are you familiar with medium chill?
No. I mean, write it down.
I feel that's your answer, my friend. I feel your answer is medium chill. I feel your answer is going medium chill with your brother. Make a note of, if you have something to write something down on.
Yeah.
Make a note of medium chill. Google this tomorrow or tonight. Google medium chill versus no contact.
Got it down.
That will walk you through a relational understanding of having a surface level, respectful surface level relationship with someone who doesn't have a relational capacity like you do, versus going completely no contact with them. This is most often the best thing you can do with someone who cannot give you the time of day, with someone who is so far gone that they are disrespecting you all the time, with someone who is such an extreme scenario that they have no slot for your comparative advantage as a human. Often the best example, the best way to deal with it is to go medium chill with them. The best way I know to put it is I've gone medium chill with maybe 7 people in my entire life. and I would say 3 or 4 of them have become no contact. That's the best way I know to say it. So medium chill is a good way to deal with a relationship you're not sure how to deal with when you want to maintain it, but you're not sure where it's going to end up, and you want to do the best you can. Medium chill is a way to maintain a relationship without caving your own needs, without sacrificing your sense of self, without giving up your own sense of self. It's a way to actually relate to the person. That is to say, there are some people that are so far. There are some people that are so sick. I don't know what other word to use. There are some people that are so sick that they will absorb everything about you if you let them. And the only thing you can do with that person, the only thing you can do with them in a relationship where you are literally relating. That's all a relationship is. You're relating. The only way you can relate to that person in many cases is to just go medium chill. It's either that or you just cut them out of your life and go no contact. Medium chill is a great way to salvage a relationship you don't want to say goodbye to, and yet you don't want to lose yourself to. You don't want to say goodbye to them, and you don't want to say goodbye to yourself. That's medium chill. So look up medium chill versus no contact, and I feel like that might be beneficial to you. I'm really sorry to hear that you're. I mean, I don't know what that's like living with a brother that's dealing with that. That sounds intense.
Well, in conclusion, I know the stream's ending. I just wanted to say, hey, that helps so much. I'm definitely, you helped me a lot. Thanks, Julian.
I lost you for a second. You're saying that I want to make sure this is a good call. Did we get through everything? I know I said we got to go around this time, but was that on? Was this we want to make this a good call? If we need to go a couple more minutes, we can.
No, you hit the nail on the head. How he soaks everything up about me. He's begrudging, and he'll bring something up to garner pity, and that didn't work on me. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. It sounds like medium chill is what I needed, and hey, just getting it off my chest was miles ahead. So thank you for this.
I'm glad to hear it. Please don't take my word for it. Please Google medium chill tomorrow. Don't just take the description I gave you here. You can read forever on medium chill. Please don't just take this one phone call as a recommendation. Please do some reading on medium chill versus no contact. And I hope that proves to be a good rabbit hole for you. I feel good sending you down that rabbit hole based on what I've heard. But again, I don't know you, and I hope that is a good rabbit hole we're sending you down. And also, please revisit the chat, because there's been a bunch of things in there I haven't been able to get to because I've been listening. But there's a bunch of good things that might be good for you to read. So maybe revisit this episode in the chat replay. After 2 or 3 hours from now, the chat replay will be up, and you can watch the chat alongside our voices here. So maybe check that out too.
Okay, take care.
All right, good night. Another beautiful night. Thank you so much, chat. You guys are awesome. Amazing stuff in here. Thanks so much to everybody who communicated ideas for the callers tonight. A huge thank you to our mods. Tonight, I actually think we just had a mod. I think it was just Deanna Krebs by herself. Is that right, Deanna? Were you alone? Was Deanna alone? It wouldn't be the first time. It was a well-behaved chat tonight, so we didn't need a team of mods. We were able to get away with just Deanna. Of course, I did see David Moore in here earlier. I'm not sure if David's still here. David's one of our Discord mods. But yeah, thank you so much to all of you who participated in the chat. Thank you to Deanna. And we do these episodes 3 times a week on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And we also are doing other live streams here weekly. And I am crawling my way back to a release schedule here on the channel outside of live streams, although live streaming is one of the most exciting things to me about YouTube right now. This stream specifically is one of the most, it's the highlight of my week every week, 3 times a week. So thank you guys so much for being part of this. I always look forward to these, and appreciate all the support and the ideas in the chat. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you guys again on Tuesday. Looking forward to it. Good night, everybody.